Trickster and the Two Friends by Robert D. Sansosi. Long ago in Africa, there were two men who had been best friends since they were children. They played together, grew up together when they became men, and got married. They built huts facing each other across a narrow footpath. The distance between them was so small that during the day they would sit by their doors and talk. Living in the village was a man who loved to play tricks on people. Because of this, he had no friends of his own, and he was jealous of the two men's friendships. He decided to get them to quarrel so they would no longer be friends. The troublemaker sewed himself a coat. One side was bright red cloth, the other a deep sky blue. The next afternoon, while the friends were seated by their doors chatting across to each other, the trickster strolled past. He called a greeting to each of the friends. The two men responded politely, and the scoundrel continued on his way. But he quickly hid behind a bush to see what would happen. "That fellow has a fine new coat, I see," said the first man. "Indeed," responded the other. "The color is so bright. What shade of red would you call it?" "Sky blue," said his friend, beginning to laugh. "Blue? It was as red as a pomegranate." "I certainly know blue from red," said his friend, with a little anger in his voice. "It was blue." "Nonsense! It was red, you fool." "You are the fool." Behind the bush, the trickster put both hands over his mouth to hold in his laughter. Seeing his plan working so well, the two young men were on their feet now, calling each other names. "Our friendship is ended," cried one. "You have insulted me. You must pay for it," shouted the other. Then he ran across the path, and the two began to fight, until the wife of the first man called their neighbors to come and pull them apart. After that, the two former friends sat by their doors just glaring at each other. But the wife of the second man was returning with a basket of yams. She saw the trickster in his two-colored coat laughing behind the bush. She asked him what was so funny, but he only hurried away, still chuckling. When the clever young woman reached home and heard what had happened, she instantly understood how the troublemaker had brought the one-time friends to blows. Quickly she went to the trickster's hut. He was away, but had left his mischief-making coat behind. The wife took the coat and returned along the path the troublemaker had used, but because she was going the opposite way, the colors of the coat were reversed. Her husband and his new friend now saw the color the other had first seen. "Do you like my borrowed coat?" the woman called to the men. Then she spun in the path so that the red and the blue sides of the coat flashed brilliantly in the sunlight. The friends understood the trick that had been played on them. "Let us go and give the troublemaker a good thrashing," cried the first man. But the other said, "Nah, let him be. He could not accept the fact that we both might be right. Such small-mindedness had almost cost us our friendship. But we have learned a good lesson from this bit of mischief." The two were better friends after this, but the trickster was careful never to use the path that ran between their huts, no matter what he was wearing.